Okay, so I'm making this so that you all can have a refresher and a little bit of reference for getting multi-channel recordings out of Pro Tools. So I'm starting here. This is my edit window with my audio. I have a stereo pair and a spot mic. I also have markers for each piece. And if we look at our mix window, I've already dialed in some preliminary levels on my mix, the level of my spot mic, a little bit of light EQ, light subtractive EQ, and compression. Again, very light on the tracks. Nothing on the master fader. I would suggest not putting anything on your master fader unless you remember to go through and bypass it after this next step. So again, I've got everything ready to go here, happy with my mix. I need to render this to a new track, because if I just go through and break this up and export these files, Pro Tools is going to have, an export of this clip and an export of this clip. These are not going to be rendered as one clip together. You're going to have a track with this stereo pair, and then the next track is going to be this spot mic. So it's not going to sound the way that you want it to. So I'm just going to go here, select one of the clips for the duration of the concert. I'm going to go File, Bounce to Disk. I'm going to choose Wave, Interleaved, 24-bit, 44.1K. That's the same sample rate and bit depth as our session. And we're just going to name this 4919 Concert Band. And I'm going to check Import After Bounce. Tell it to bounce offline. It's already by default going to bounce it into the bounced files folder. So I'm going to hit Bounce. And we wait. Okay, so I'm going to tell Pro Tools, hey, put this on a new track, and the location for it is going to be the same as my selection, because I selected all the audio that I wanted to bounce. I want the new track to line up with this, so I'm going to hit OK. And now here's my new track right here. I can actually go and mute this, hide and make inactive. Mute that, hide and make inactive. And I'm left with the rendered file from my two previous tracks. Now, if you did put anything on your master fader, now is the time to go through and take it off, because more than likely you don't want to apply the same effects twice. Okay? So I'm going to go on here. I'm going to select this final mix, or not final mix, but this next stage in the mix. I'm going to go Audio Suite, Other, Normalize. So I'm normalizing now instead of before. And we're going to select minus 0.3 dB. We're going to hit Render. And this way you're not normalizing things multiple times when you don't need to be. That's just zoomed in. It's not really clipped. We zoom out, you can see that. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is actually break this up into clips. Now, something new that Pro Tools can do for you now, you you've always been able to go to the edit menu and choose separate clip on grid or at transients or at selection. What you couldn't do before was tell it to separate the clip by markers or by memory locations. You can do that now if you go through and you set your grid to clips/markers. Separate clip on grid. Pre-separate amount. We'll do 5 milliseconds. And now you can see there's a clip for every memory location. As long as you made your memory locations in between where the pieces were, you can do this and not worry about chopping anything off. If you're in doubt, you need to go back and check your memory locations to make sure that, we use Arabian dances, for example, that I don't have this memory location here where the piece starts. Let's go ahead and undo that. Okay, so now these are all already selected for me, already broken up by clip. This business at the beginning, I don't need because this is the tuning note and the entry applause. I'm going to delete that. And now we can just go through here and edit this like we normally would. So again, I have about a second, little over a second worth of silence. And notice when I make selections here, it's not flipping me to this memory location line. When you have your grid set to memory locations, and there are this few of them, it essentially lets you operate with a lot of your selections in grid mode, unless you're really close, and then there it'll snap. So I'm just going to go in and do some basic fade-ins on these. You can go edit, fades, create. We'll use a standard, and we'll go slightly logarithmic, and we'll just check these. And we can actually tab over if we want to, as long as tab to transients isn't on. Right there's tab to transients, it's not on. So if I tab over, it's going to tab me to the end of that clip. So I'm just going to zoom out a bit, find my applause. I'm going to trim this out because all this here I know is not music because I'm the one that recorded the concert. So again, I'm going to select about 10 to 12 seconds of this. We're going to get rid of the rest of it. And again, just a slight fade out on it. And then we can tab and zoom in a bit. Beginning of this next selection. Just do a fade in here. And just so you know, this is obviously an unacceptable place to have a fade. If I want to trim this, I just hold down the command key. If you're worried about being locked into grid mode, and move it, and now it's, you can hear a little bit of noise there at the beginning, so I'm actually going to refade this and use a tighter logarithmic fade. There we go. Same thing here, we're just going to trim a little bit of this out. Look at my applause, there's 16 seconds, I definitely don't need that much. Get that right around there, delete that. Fade that last half to last third of applause. Back here. Make this selection. Let me go back to something a little more linear. Notice how in this section we're technically within the fade, but it actually keeps some of that little background noise at the beginning off, so that's okay. I'm going to tab the end of that clip. There's two sets of applause here. We don't need them. We just want one. Again, fade out this last bit. Go here. Fade in. I'm just going to smooth that up. Smooth that out. Tab over, tab. Now we're at the end of that clip. There's our applause. That's plenty, so we can just delete that little bit there. Do a light fade at the end. Here, next clip. Again, this overlaps just a bit, but it's okay. It's almost to the complete rise of the fade. You just want to be sure that you're not killing any of the music, and I'm not there. Again, zoom out, or we can tab. We're right there on that line. Check this. Delete that. Do a quick fade out there. So we don't need these introductory applause. We want to get here. Zoom in. A little bit more time than what I want, so I'm just going to trim that up a bit. Got just a little over a second there. Again, top of the fade there, and that's exactly where the music starts, so it's okay to have a little bit of that fade coming through, especially if you know that there's noise or anything right there, okay? We're going to go to the next clip. We've got lots of talking here, all right? We don't need that. This was not a lecture recital. This was just a music recital or concert. And on here, that's what we want. Again, there's about 11 seconds of it. We can delete the rest. Apply fade. And now we're here at the beginning of the next clip. And I'm just going to do another fade there. Tab over. And now we're at the end. Long applause. Again, just a little bit of those. Go and get the last 5 seconds-ish. Okay, so now we have fade ins for every track. You can tab through, fade out. There's that. Just checking my entrances. These are all around a second or so far. Same thing. Tabbing through. Same thing. To the end. Okay. Now we're going to Command A to select all. You can go edit select all if you want. And we are going to either normalize these again so that we can make the fades part of the audio clip, or we can go and consolidate each clip one at a time. You have to do this one at a time. If I do it with all of these selected, it's going to make one long clip here. I'll let you see it. Don't want that. So if you choose to do consolidate clip, you have to do it one clip at a time. Okay, I'm either going to normalize again, or because I didn't use anything on the master fader on the way out with my mix, I'm going to go Audio Suite Dynamics, and I'm going to open the L1 limiter. And again, we don't want to do a ton of limiting on classical music in general. So I'm going to just put a very light bit of limiting on here. So we're going to set a threshold of -2 dB and an out ceiling of -0.3. So just the last 2 dB of all these clips is what's going to get affected. And we're going to set the out ceiling just a little bit below the clipping range. We want to make sure that create individual files is on, and we're going to just click render. And we're done with this plugin now. You can see if I go edit undo, very small bit, I'll redo it, just a very small bit of volume increase on there. We didn't alter the dynamics drastically. And if you look, all the fades are gone because they are now part of the audio clip, okay? So next, I'm going to take this, I'm going to go Command-Shift-K, or you can go over here and choose export clips as files. So I'm going to do Command-Shift-K because I like keyboard commands. And first thing I'm going to do is say export as MP3, interleaved 44.1K. I'm going to choose a location, and that location is going to be Google Drive, this WVU Music Faculty MP3 Access folder. I'm going to make a new folder, and we're going to call it 4919 Concert Band. So we've got our new folder. We're going to hit open because Pro Tools says we have to do that. And I just check here to make sure that this is indeed where it's going, and that's right. So again, MP3s to Google Drive, I'm going to click export. 192 kilobits per second is fine. I like to use the slowest encoding speed. You hit OK. Now all those are being exported to the Google Drive, and they're going to upload shortly. The next thing we need to do is export WAV files. And never put WAV files in the Google Drive, only MP3s. So we're going to go again, Command-Shift-K. I'm going to switch this from MP3 to WAV, interleaved, 16-bit, 44.1K. That's all right. We're going to choose a new location. This time it's going to be the Music Tech Audio HD. And we're going to go into exported files for CD burning. We're going to go new folder. We're going to go 4919 Concert Band, create. I'm going to click open. And again, we're going to export WAV files into that exported files for CD burning folder. Hit export. And we're done in Pro Tools. We can save. We're going to close session, and now we're going to open up Adobe Audition and actually burn a CD. All right, so we're going to choose View. I know you can't see these menu commands at the very top, so we're going to choose View, CD Editor. And now all we need to do is, once we're in this area, we're going to right-click and choose Insert Files. We're going to navigate to our exported files for CD burning folder. And there's our folder that we just made for the concert band. And notice how these are all numbered from 1 through 7 because I did them in order in Pro Tools. Now, when I open these up in Audition, they are going to be in reverse order more than likely. So let's just see. Oh, actually, no, they're not in order. But so we're just going to quickly drag these. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You get the idea. And just double check those 1 through 7 because again, in our Pro Tools session, we worked on everything in order from left to right. So all those clips should be numbered in the proper order. You also want to go here and double check that you have only a 2-second pause at the beginning of the first track, and you want no pauses in between the other tracks. So you can see that, right? Next thing I'm going to do is grab a blank CD. I'm going to write 4/9/19 concert band Clay on the disc. Pop open the CD drive, pop that disc in there, give it just a second. And when this comes up, you can click ignore. I always say make this action default and it never listens to me. So now we're going to go back to Audition and click burn audio to CD because notice this is only 34.36 minutes. If this were longer than our 78 minute max, you would need to go through and only select certain files out of this. Like if, let's say 1 through 7 were over 78 minutes, I would probably select 1 through 3 or 1 through 4, burn those. So, I mean, to get rid of a file, you can just remove selected tracks. I'm not going to do it. I would remove these 3 and then burn those first 4. But this is well within our limit, so I've already got them in there. I don't have to worry about burning 2 discs. Click burn audio to CD. There's only 1 drive. We obviously want it to be in write mode. I choose the max speed, 1 copy. Make sure you check verify CD after burning and eject CD when complete. Okay, now we're done. CD was ejected from the burner. I'm going to hit OK, take the CD out, take a copy of the program, 3-hole punch it, put it in the binder along with the CD, and we're done. We can go ahead and close all. We don't need to save any of this, and then we can quit Adobe Audition, and that's the end of it.